Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October Ordinary Council meeting. It being a few minutes past the allotted time, 2 minutes past 6, I'll declare this meeting open. Kaya Marman, Kaya Yoga, Kaya Bridie, Yana Nook, Nala Kadij Wijiagat Nini, Nala Kadij Nija Buja Bal, Waja Noga, Buja Lalak Nini, Kura, Nijie Borawan. On behalf of the town of Bassendean, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land on which we meet, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. May their campfires burn forever. I'd also like to say that given the nature of the recent debate regarding the Voice to Parliament referendum result, it is worth noting that we care for and walk on this country together. I think divisive debate is not helpful, and we should care for each other and be kind to each other. I'd also like to remind people that our meetings are recorded and uploaded to the town's website. I have a few announcements tonight, so please bear with me. I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage people to have their say by voting in the upcoming local government elections. You will have received your voting packs in the mail, and if you have not yet received your ballot papers, please do contact the town of Bassendean for a replacement. Up until counting begins at 6 p.m. on the 21st of October, that's this coming Saturday, eligible electors can return their completed ballots to our reception at 35 Old Perth Road. Please note it is now too late to post said ballots to guarantee that they will be delivered in time, so hand delivery is best. There are 3 positions being contested by 7 candidates, so do take the time to evaluate who you would like to represent this community in the coming years. Take the time to consider all the candidates, their motives, values, and the commitment they bring to working collaboratively with community and fellow councillors to make a positive contribution to the future of our town. I look forward to seeing what we can achieve together as a newly configured council. Also, Vale and Ivy Brinkworth, sadly a most prominent and valued member of our community, and passed away earlier this month on the 10th of October. As a long-term resident of the area, Anne and her partner Alan raised their family here and actively participated in an extensive range of community initiatives touching and improving the lives of many over the years. There is no doubt Anne will be remembered fondly by many people. Ms Brinkworth served as a councillor from 1988 to 1994 initially, and then after a 1-year break continued to serve as a councillor from 1995 to 2015. That's a total of 26 years, making her the longest serving councillor with the town of Bassendean. After the passing of her husband Alan in 2014, Anne chose not to stand for re-election in October 2015 and instead directed her focus to ongoing participation in a range of community activities. During her time as a councillor, Anne received the West Australian Local Government Association's Meritus Award in 2004, and she also received the Distinguished Service Award in 2010 for her services to local government. Council elevated Ms Brinkworth to Freeman of the town in March 2016, one of only a handful of people to hold the title of Honorary Freeman of the town of Bassendean. Some of the outstanding achievements of this remarkable woman include being presented with the Australian Red Cross Distinguished Service Award in 2006 for her significant community service of over 60 years, and also the 50-year Laurel Reef Medal. In 2012, the Department of Communities also awarded Anne the Volunteer Service Award for her services to the Australian Red Cross. Certainly it is true to say that Anne Ivy Brinkworth was an energetic person who positively contributed much to the fabric of our community throughout her entire life. She will be missed. Lastly, I would like to thank my fellow elected members who over the past 2 years have contributed so much to ensure we move forward as a council. I am grateful for the willingness of each and every one of you who have demonstrated a willingness to go the extra mile at all times. Working along so many passionate and dedicated councillors, collaborating with caring community members and skilled staff has been a positive experience that sets the groundwork for a future council to build upon. I wish all candidates good fortune for the future, no matter the results of the upcoming election. This week also marks the final council meeting for our retiring councillor Renee McLennan. I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge Renee's substantial contributions over recent years and the important role she has played in helping us move towards having a more contemporary and progressive local government serving our town. Renee was first elected to council in October 2015, and whilst combining the roles of mum and councillor, she has tirelessly worked to progress the aspirations of this community for 8 years to ensure better outcomes for our town and the generations to come. During that time, Renee has served as Mayor for 4 years and more recently as Deputy Mayor for the past 2 years. Bubbling with ideas, she has inspired community members to collaborate in so many beneficial initiatives, some of which include the local repair cafe and share shed. We are so grateful for Renee's drive and energy that has helped to deliver these fabulous community-led programs. Now Renee has the opportunity to have a totally different kind of adventure during 2024, travelling together with her family as they explore amazing parts of this country. I'm sure that community in our town will welcome Renee back with open arms when she returns in 2025. In all her roles, particularly as Mayor and Deputy Mayor, Renee has worked together with her fellow councillors during a challenging period of transformation, moving the town of Bassendean forward and leaving it in a better state than when she was first elected. It has been an extraordinary journey working with Renee to prioritise the health of our environment and sustainability, ensuring economic responsibility, progressing a planning framework to facilitate a vibrant future for our suburbs, while setting protections of our heritage areas in place, all the while having regard for the character and spirit of this town. There have been challenges and there is more work to do, but Renee's contributions have set the groundwork for future councils to build upon. Wishing you and your family safe travels, I would now like to take this opportunity to present you with a small gift as a token of our appreciation. Okay, I don't believe we've got an apology tonight with Phil Adams. Okay. Councillors, do we have any applications for leave of absence? Councillor McWilliam.
I recognise that this may be premature. However, if I am re-elected, I'd like to put in for a leave of absence from the 11th to the 26th of November.
Thank you. Any other councillors? Just excuse me for a minute. Yes, please. Councillors, do we have any declarations of interest on any of the items on the agenda? No? Okay. We'll now move on to presentations or deputations. We do not have any deputations as far as I know. Is that correct? That's correct. Yes, okay. So we'll move on to statements by members of the public. If you have a statement, if you would raise your hand, come to the microphone, state your name and address, and provide your statement. Yes, sir.
Aaron McKay, 33 North Road, Bassendean. I'd just like to thank Renee McLennan for all her help over the years as a councillor. She's always been there for me and my family to try and resolve some issues that we've had over the past. And yeah, I'd like to wish her all the best in her future endeavours. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other statements? Yes, sir.
Don Yates, 10 Thompson Road.
Would you come to the microphone, sir, for the recording?
Don Yates, 10 Thompson Road, Success Hill. Just a simple one. I have a water bubbler fountain on my fence that just rolled up 135,000 uses in the last 12 years. And I really want to make special mention of Mr. Bill Busby, who some years ago actually helped in the maintenance of that particular water fountain. Where it has relevance is that it's next to a carob tree, and that feeds the giraffes of the Perth Zoo. And I'm a little concerned about 13.1 and 13.2 if pruning trees on my property means that the giraffes at Perth Zoo don't get a feed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other statements before we move on to question time? Okay, so we'll move on to item 7, which is questions from members of the public. Again, if you have a question, raise your hand and come to the microphone stating your name and address. Are there any questions? Sir, yes, if you'd come to the microphone.
Aaron McKay, 33 North Road, Bassendean. My question sort of is about some activities at Point Reserve. Just wondering if the council would look at installing CCTV in that location.
I think I'll ask the CEO to respond to this one.
Thanks, Aaron. We'll take that on notice. I know that we will be meeting with the officer in charge of Kiara shortly again to talk about community safety aspects, and I've asked the officer in charge there to identify hotspots based on incoming reports from the community, and that next year will feed into a CCTV plan for the budget. So if Point Reserve is a hotspot according to the police, then it will make that list. Otherwise it'll be on a priority list that the police will intimate is their priority, and then we'll seek funding to do that. So at this stage there'll be no action on CCTV till we have that plan approved by police. But it's not to say it won't be in the future.
Yeah. I know. There's just there was an incident probably about 6 weeks ago where some individuals were using, I believe it was an air rifle to try and shoot wildlife out of the trees at night. And I believe my footage wasn't good enough. I believe the footage of the retro would have been quite useful to the police at the time. Try and have.
Did you report that to the police?
Yes, the moment it happened, that they did roll out 7 police cars in the area trying to apprehend the people.
Okay.
But unfortunately, they hopped in the car and sped on as fast as they could after taking several shots. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, my next question, sorry.
You've got another question? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the rangers have the power to move people on from Point Reserve, which are, for better words, camping at the point?
My understanding is that that can only happen on town managed or town owned land, but as you are aware, there are 2 sections of Point Reserve that are not owned or managed by the town. So if that camping is happening on those other state government portions of land, I do not believe the rangers can move them on, but I'll just confirm that with the director.
Through Madam Mayor, rangers have the ability to infringe anyone breaching any of the town's local laws. Rangers and any other member of staff are able to request people move on from a town premises or a town managed area, but ultimately if they refuse to go willingly, town staff will report the matter to police.
There's a particular vehicle there at the moment which has been there for the last 2 weeks, and they're quite involved in antisocial behaviour, quite loudly, and I do watch a large portion of people drive down to Point Reserve, do a quick U-turn and drive back away, because these people are camped in their car in the car park, not on any other section of land, they're on Bassendean land. They also have a dog with them, which I believe you're not allowed to have a dog at Point Reserve. So I'm curious as to how they're allowed to have a dog at Point Reserve when no one else is allowed to.
It would, you're quite right, dogs are not permitted to be walked around Point Reserve, but I would ask, is the dog kept in the car, or what happens with the dog?
Well, I can't believe you could keep a dog in a car for 2 weeks.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because it would be horrible to do that.
Yeah, so I can't understand why the Rangers haven't done something about seizing the dog from them if they're not caring for the dog in an adequate way.
We'll ask the citizen.
Through Madam Mayor, probably appropriate that we take this offline and we can look into the matter and get back to you with a response.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir?
53 Hague Street, Ashfield. Congratulations, Renee, and I hope you enjoy your little travels. Well done. In the last 6 months, 10 trees were removed from the back of the Ashfield stand in the soccer club. They're starting to regrow again, so I don't know what's happening with the regrowth, whether they're going to be allowed to grow, whether they're dying. The residents of the area are asking me, and I don't know what happened when they all got chopped down. I know one tree was dying, but the other 9 are now starting to sprout.
So, Mr Busby, I'd like to take that question on notice because one of our staff is not here tonight, and I would like to take that that question on notice and have the staff come back to you on that one.
So just on that particular person who's not here, I'd like to congratulate him and his engineering staff. We've cleaned the stormwater drains on Ashfield Reserve. I believe in the last 3 months the mosquito population has almost disappeared, because regularly with coaching and playing there, we've been putting on creams and powders for mosquito bites. That hasn't happened in the last 3 months, and the town management and the engineering side are addressing the stormwater drains throughout the reserve. I'm not sure to what extent, because it's quite extensive. And yet the other day they were digging in the hot sun, which is amazing, as in bloody hot. But they're doing a great job. So at the end of the day, I don't know why it hasn't been done 10 years prior, but well done to the engineering staff. I think in helping solve a possible mosquito problem, or maybe it's just temporary for the moment, I'm not going to curse on it, but well done to the engineering staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, so we'll move on. We have no petitions I know of, so we'll move on to confirmation of the minutes. So 9.1, that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Tuesday the 26th of September be received and confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover? Councillor McWilliam, a seconder? Councillor Ames? Anyone against? I'll declare that carried. We have nil external reports to consider, which moves us on to the officer reports. We only have one item in en bloc, which is the accounts paid. I don't believe there's anyone wanting to take those out of en bloc. Okay, so can I have a mover to move the item en bloc? Councillor Wilding, seconded. Councillor Ames, anyone against? I'll declare that carried. So we'll now move on to item 12.2, contract variation for cleaning services for council facilities. And I'd ask the officer if you would like to provide any additional information on this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, only because this has come straight to the council meeting, not via a briefing session, which we didn't have last week. So it's just a variation that the contractor has applied for. There's two components to it. The first relates to their labour costs, and it arises from a decision, an annual decision of Fair Work Australia. And also the second component of that is the increase in the compulsory superannuation guarantee payment by employers. And the second component of the request is an increase in the cost of the provision of consumables under the cleaning contract. It's recommended that council approve both variations to the contract.
Thank you, Mr White. Councillors, are there any questions on this item? Do we have a mover for this item? Councillor Ames, seconded Councillor Wilding. Do we have anyone against this? I'll declare that carried. So we'll now move on to 12.3, Draft Amended Local Planning Policy 12, Residential Development and Fences. And again, Mr Gibson, if you would like to address this one.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the purpose of this report is for Council to consider the draft amended local planning policy number 12, which relates, as you can see, to residential development. The main operative change is to formally embed reference to the town's character and heritage study into the document, just to make it clear that the character and heritage study will be used to assess streetscape character compatibility. There is also a minor addition to correct a previous omission relating to outbuildings. It's a very minor review of the policy, and it's recommended the council adopt it without advertising.
Thank you. Councillors, questions? Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Ames, seconder. Councillor Wilding, anyone against? I'll declare that carried. We also have an item 12.5, the monthly financial statements. Mr White, did you want to make any comment on that item?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it could have gone through en bloc, but I think it was a late item. So
yes, it was. So councillors, do we have any questions on that item? No, the accounts paid have been en bloc. 12.5 was a late item which wasn't in the original published agenda. And what it is now, it's been added into, you would have had it in your councillor documents that came in online. So if you've printed out a copy like I have, you haven't actually got it in front of you. So 12.5 is the standard monthly financial report for last month. Councillor Ames.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just following on from Councillor Carter's topic of conversation regarding the item actually being in en bloc in the updated document.
It was.
As per the document that I'm looking at, it's got.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Well,
let's check it out. 12.4 and 12.5 are the en bloc officer recommendations.
okay, I missed that. Thank you very much, Councillor Ames. So we've voted. Yeah, moved and seconded, right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Apologies for that oversight. Okay, which now brings us to the notice of motion, which is item 13.1, first off. And so, councillors, we have the notice of motion presented by Councillor McLennan. We have the CEO comment. I would ask the CEO if there are any additional comments you'd like to make before I open it up to councillor questions.
And none, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so councillors, do you have questions of either the administration or Councillor McLennan? So councillor McLennan, you're obviously wishing to move your notice of motion?
Yes, but I believe you had a question.
I did. I was just curious about the audit, the commentary there that the audit could potentially cost up to $450 per tree. And I was curious about how that figure was arrived at. What does it compose of?
That's the quote we're currently paying for a qualified arborist to ensure trees that are going onto the TPO or the Significant Tree Register comply with the definitions.
So do we need a qualified arborist for every TPO or not?
I might refer to Nicole for that and to Luke.
Through you, Madam Mayor, not necessarily, but I think it'd be reasonable to assume at least some landowners or owners of land that accommodate trees might dispute whether the tree should be protected. And it would be good practice, I'd suggest, to actually have the value of the tree quantified in some way via a formal assessment.
Thank you. Councillors, questions? Councillor Ames?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. And the comments regarding any type of tree specialist to gain access to private land, are our residents able to say, no, you're not allowed to sort of step on my land to assess anything that's on my land, and how might that be, I suppose, dealt with if that happens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is possible. That they would deny access to their property. In that instance, it might be possible, depending on the particular circumstance, for the assessor to do effectively a curbside assessment if the tree was visible from the public realm. If it wasn't, that would make it particularly problematic to prove up that the tree was actually worthy of protection. But I suppose we wouldn't know exactly what the take-up would be like unless we went through the process. But that would certainly be a risk.
Councillor McLennan?
I just wanted to seek clarification. This isn't a new tool that we have available to us, and in the past we've had trees nominated where the property owner has contested the application. In those instances, the town has managed to have those trees assessed, is my understanding?
Through you, Madam Mayor, quite possibly, I don't recall the specifics, but like I said, if the tree was visible from the public realm, the assessor could at least comment on the sort of the visible health of the tree, the size of the tree, the species of the tree, whether it offers habitat or biodiversity value. So not being on the property would not be a fatal flaw to an assessment.
Councillor Plivka?
Just in relation to the cost, if we had a qualified arborist employed by the town, would that assist in that regard?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes it would, and we have tried on 2 occasions to secure those services and have failed. So at this stage, the actions in our tree canopy action plan are at risk of not being achieved because we just can't fill a role. I don't think we're the only local government out there looking for these skill sets, and they seem to be quite scarce.
And if there is that shortage, is there potentially the possibility of sharing that employee with another local government?
Yeah, good point. That's something we need to explore.
If I could ask another question of Mr. Gibson, in respect to a TPO or a significant tree nomination, if that TPO is applied to a tree, it does not prevent that tree from being removed subject to approvals with a development application, is that correct? But it does prevent it from being removed until the council has provided a DA, is that right?
Through you, Madam Mayor, not quite. It doesn't prevent anyone removing the tree. It simply makes an offence to remove the tree.
Right, okay.
The threat of a punishment would likely to be a deterrent in most cases, but the TPO in of itself is not an absolute protection of the tree.
Thank you for that. Let me frame it another way. Would the preservation of these trees until a development application has been lodged and the matter has been considered by town planning staff, would that enable conversations to take place between the developer and town staff to see if there are ways and means to preserve a tree?
Through Madam Mayor, broadly yes, but I suppose I'd go a step further and say those conversations can happen irrespective of whether there's a TPO on the property. If a tree was protected via a TPO or inclusion on the significant tree register, it would be an offence to remove the tree without the appropriate approval. Most people, based on the threat of prosecution for breaching the requirement, you'd imagine would seek input from the town before actually taking any action, and that could be formalised through an application for development approval where those conversations could occur.
Okay. Councillors, any further questions? So, Councillor McLennan, you obviously wish to move your notice of motion. Do we have a seconder? We have Councillor Plivka. Do we have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. We'll now move on to item 13.2, another notice of motion from Councillor McLennan. Again, there is some feedback provided here. Mr. CEO, would you like to add anything to the feedback that you've...
No, thanks, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So, councillors, do you have any questions on this particular item? Okay. So, Councillor McLennan, you would like to move your notice of motion, correct? Yes.
Yes, and can I just check with Ms Davey when the tree canopy action plan would be intended to be returned to council for review?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there's no specific date, but if this notice of motion was approved, it probably would be in early 2024.
Okay, so any further questions? Councillor McLennan, you're wishing to move your notice of motion. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Carter. Do we have anyone against? Declare that carried. So that brings us to the end of the items. We have no announcements of notices of motion for the next meeting that I know of. We have no urgent business. We have no confidential business.
Sorry, point of order, Madam Mayor. Just for clarity, can we please move the item 12.5?
Okay, sorry. So 12.5, which was the financial statements, I think it would be wise to have a mover. So we've got Councillor Carter, Councillor Ames seconding. Do we have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. Thank you. I do believe that is a more safe way to proceed as well. Okay, so in closing, I'll just let people know that we have a special council meeting to be held on Tuesday, the 24th of October, commencing at 6 p.m. The next briefing session will be held on Tuesday, the 21st of November, commencing at 6 p.m. And the next ordinary council meeting will be held on Tuesday, the 28th of November, commencing at 6 p.m. So thank you everyone for your attendance and for your participation. Thank you very much.